All right, everyone. Welcome to our monthly seminar. And we have tonight a fantastic topic related to business development and business growth in Young Living, which will be enormously beneficial for your future development. My name's Brenda Rogers, and I'm the training manager with Young Living, and I'm going to introduce to you our speaker for tonight. So the topic is follow-up is fun. And many of us know that it's the follow-up that we kind of slink away from. And that can be the undermining. It's particularly important for any expo, market, any event. Without the follow-up, the gems aren't there. And as the saying goes, the fortune is in the follow-up. So Neena is going to be speaking to you. She's an expert in this area and is actually considered amongst the Young Living members to be the follow-up queen, if I might say that, Neena, because she's made it fun, she's worked it out, she's routinely doing it so that it's become part of her system and part of her structure, and she's been wonderfully successful. She has a platinum business in Young Living, lives in the glorious Queensland coastal area, beautiful new homes she's built, and has just a fantastic lifestyle. So, Neena, I'm going to hand it over to you to gently share with our audience all your wisdom, hints and tips about follow-up.
Thanks, Brenda, for the lovely introduction. That was really lovely. That was straight from the heart. Okay, so I was just blown away by how many people are online and where they're from. I think there was even someone from France, New Zealand, Western Australia, all sorts of different time zones. So that's pretty awesome. I'd just like to welcome everybody tonight and thank you all for coming on board and being willing to learn. I hope I'm able to answer some of the questions that came up. I think for me at this time, I can't do this webinar without just a short acknowledgement of Gary Young at this time. I feel incredibly honoured to be doing the first webinar after his passing, and would find it impossible not to acknowledge the impact that Gary has had on my life. So I couldn't trust myself to speak without writing down exactly what I wanted to say. When I wrote it out, it came out in first person. So I'm actually going to read it in first person. At the time of this recording, recording Young Living and a lot of people in it are fresh in the throes of coming to terms with the passing of our founder, D. Gary Young. For me personally, the last 10 odd days since Gary's passing have been unexpectedly emotional, and for me the loss feels incredibly personal. So this is a message to Gary and about Gary, because for those of you who are new and haven't met this man, I feel it's really good for you to understand the roots of our company and where I will be coming from tonight, because it's actually Gary's ethos that will weave its way through my presentation. I feel so truly honoured to be doing this first recording since your passing, and would like to give those who have never met you and those who have not been able to see you in your element a glimpse of the giant that you were. I feel so incredibly blessed to have met you at a time before competition and before there were quite so many regulations. Your intimate knowledge of each oil and what it could do saw me writing profusely each time you spoke. I have so many fond memories of things you said and the things you actually went ahead and did. Things that, oh my, would seriously make every single hair on Stephen Said's head, our compliance officer, stand up very straight, most likely for days on end. The sheer genius of them, not only the genius in them, but perhaps more than that, the big grin on your face when you were able to share your genius in hands-on, practical ways. You would ooze a childlike delight at being able to gift us the things you did, freely and without reservation. Your heart was clearly one that wanted to share, to give, and to make the world a better and healthier place. This then to me became the ethos of Young Living. My journey with YL has given me so much. Financial abundance, even better health, travel, friendships, and above all, purpose. You can't put a price on these things. You just can't. I will be forever grateful. Your message in the end was a simple one. Love God, love your family, love your brothers, love your sisters, and treat them the way you would want to be treated. Tonight I had woven this theme into my talk, and I hope the ethos, alongside the practical tips I offer, will serve those that embrace Young Living, as well as give them a glimpse into the incredible visionary that you were during your all too brief time on this earth. I am proud to be part of this truly one-of-a-kind company. Okay, so that's a little bit about Gary and the impact he's had on my life, and we're all very, very blessed. Oof. Okay, so it's time for me to share what oils I'm using tonight, because oils weave their way into everything we do. I have put Valor on the bottom of my feet. Valor is the rescue remedy of our essential oils. If you find yourself in a situation and you're feeling a bit rattled about it, just put on Valor. It'll settle you down. It's a very, very cool oil. In my diffuser, I have Clarity. For obvious reasons. I want to be clear tonight. I want to be able to share what I can with you and be really clear about it. Gary always used to put a little bit under his nose before he came on stage, and I have actually done the same. There's a little bit under my nose as well as in the diffuser. And the last oil I chose for tonight is Envision. And there are many, many oils that one could use to honour Gary, but I chose Envision because he really was a remarkable, remarkable visionary. It's interesting how things work out. I have members in my team all over the globe now, and about a week ago, someone in my UK team, I've got some members in the United Kingdom, sent me a message and said, look, I've signed up for all these expos. Can you give me some tips on follow-up? And I said, oh, well, it just so happens I've prepared a talk because Young Living have asked me to talk about that. So I've done this talk with my lovely lady in the UK. It went for 2 hours, so that was interesting. But the good news was she got back to me after the expo and she said that the talk had really helped her. She felt comfortable and confident in sharing the oils, and she'd actually obtained some really good quality leads. So that's exciting. Feel free to put any questions you have about anything I say in chat section. Just keeping an eye on the chat section, and we'll come in and let me know whether there's questions. It's kind of hard to talk and read at the same time, so I'm going to stay focused on the presentation so that you get the most out of it. The first thing that I wrote down is, why is follow-up so important. And I really feel it's so easy to fall down in this area. But if you don't follow up, you're actually not making the best use of your time. Time, I feel, is our most precious asset. Once we've spent a day, it's gone and it never comes back. And I know for me, when I started my business, I was a single mother. I had two beautiful children. I've still got two beautiful children. I was on 10 acres, and my days were all systems go from when I got out of bed in the morning until I got up at night, until I went to bed at night. And that meant I had to be very conscious of spending my time wisely. And I think most people in our world today actually find themselves in similar circumstances. So if you're going out and getting these leads, you're connecting to people, it doesn't have to be at expos. It can be downtown when you bump into someone you know. If you don't follow up after that conversation, you're going to start another one, and the first one isn't going to be complete when it could have brought a new member on board into your team. So, yep, acknowledge the effort you've spent in speaking to someone in any circumstances and follow up with them in the ways that I'm going to suggest as we go through my notes tonight. Okay, so before I get into some strategies, I would like to talk about personal beliefs that may be acting as roadblocks to your ability to follow up. And I've identified the two most common roadblocks that I've heard people say over the years, and let's see if we can't reframe them and put a different light on it. The first one I have heard over and over again, and I myself put myself into this category. This was so me, and it was the I don't want to be pushy routine. Does anyone relate to that? They don't want to be pushy. So that was me. I was a massage therapist. I had an active lot of yeses coming up there. I can see them coming through. It's so common. So that was me. I was a qualified massage therapist, and I would use the oils on my clients, and they would want to use the oils. They would want to know how to get them. And me not wanting to be pushy, I would mumble something at the end of the conversation and give them some paperwork. And that was it. That's all I would do. Now, this was back in the days before you could sign up online. Now, in a year, I still managed to get about half a dozen people on board in my team. And to me, that is not testimony to anything constructive I did. It's testimony to how good our oils are. But then I had this epiphany, and I actually would like to share that with you, because when I realized this, it really helped things turn around for me. So when I was going, I don't want to be pushy, I realized something, and I just really want to make this a point. And if we've got time, we'll review it at the end. I realized that what I was actually doing was giving lousy customer service. I had these people interested, they'd had an experience of the oils, and I was not helping them get them. And I went, wow, I want to give great customer service. I want to help people get these oils. And after that, it was kind of like a real turnaround for me, because then I would help people through that process of helping them get their own wholesale account. And I still recommend that today. If you've got somebody that wants to come on board with Young Living, help them through that sign up process. That it's confusing. Young Living have come a long way in making it simple, but we provide a lot of options. And if you're presented with those without your upline support, it does get confusing. Okay, so that one was a big one for me, and it is the one that I hear most commonly. The other one that I had, and I think others may have, but might not be as common, is I thought people were going to get mad at me. You know, like I just didn't, it's part of the not wanting to be pushy. And then I thought they would get mad at me. Now, I've been following through with a lot of people over the last decade or so, and I have not had one single person actually get mad at me, despite me thinking that there was a high likelihood that that was going to happen. It never has. In fact, the opposite has proven to be the case. I've actually got thank you. I have received unsolicited thank you notes thanking me for being helpful, and not one time did someone tell me to rack off Noddy, hang up in my ear, or totally reject me. Not once. So that's worth bearing in mind. Okay, attitudes to develop around the concept of follow-up. You need to be comfortable within yourself before you can follow up. So we've removed the roadblocks, or two of them. There are going to be more. If you want to chat about some you feel you have, put it in the chat box and we'll see if we can pick up the time for it. But I also found that once I developed the right attitude, that also made me comfortable in the process, and not wanting to give great customer service was one of those attitude shifts that really helped me. I feel be sincere. Hey, you know, there's nothing worse than someone who's gushy or fake, or not. So be sincere, and I think people learn to trust you because of that. Be helpful. We've discussed that. You know, give great customer service. This is your business. This is your business. If you want this to be a long-term strategy where you can live off your passive income, it is a business. It's willable, it's saleable, it's a business. Treat it like one. Think about what you would like businesses to offer you, what you like about a business if you go to one, and employ those similar strategies. Be curious and willing to learn. I think this is a really big thing, and everyone, by being on this call, is demonstrating that they are willing to learn and that they are curious. You know, what is this about? How can we do it better? That's a beautiful quality. Keep doing that every day. Learn something about your Young Living business. Learn something about product. Make sure you're up to date with announcements and that sort of thing, because that enables you to share information relevant to the person that you're speaking to with confidence, and you sound like you know what you're doing. So always continue the learning process. Keeps you alive. The day you stop learning is the day you die. Gary's a wonderful example of that. Enjoy the idea of genuinely caring for people. It's a beautiful thing to have that caring feeling in your heart. If you're driven by your own need, or you're driven by wanting to make a sale, or you get competitive, you start to get focused on winning that competition, or you want that rank advancement, just check in with yourself. These things are natural goals. Don't beat yourself up about it, but always remember that this company is about caring. Gary has clearly stated he never made an oil for profit. He always made an oil for purpose. So hold this desire to care for people in your heart. People will feel that, and they will learn to trust you, and they'll be drawn to you, and they will be interested in Young Living. I have so often seen that people buy the product not only because the product's good, but because they have a personal relationship with you. I've seen it where people have stopped buying product because there's a personal fallout with their friends. So make sure that, you know, in your heart, you're approaching that person with an attitude of caring for them. The reward for that is not only going to be a business that is flourishes and sees you enjoying rank advancements, and that is you're going to go to bed at the end of each day feeling happy about who you are, and that is priceless. Okay, so how to engage with people so that it looks really, really natural. A key strategy here, and you might want to write these words down, is ask, listen. Dash, ask, listen, and then respond. So what do I mean when I say that? I'm going to give you an example of how that looks in real life. You're at an expo, you bump into somebody in the street. Let's make this outside the expo environment for now. And you've just bumped into a friend in the street. My favourite product is Ningxia Red. It's the cornerstone of your business. People need that stuff every month. On top of that, it's brilliant. So you bump into someone in the street and you go, oh, hi, Mary, how are you going? And Mary goes, I'm doing pretty well, but I'm feeling a little tired, you know. And you go, well, one thing you don't do at that point is whip out your Ningxia Red sachet and go, here, try this. That's sort of like a bulldozery type bull in a china shop approach. What you do is you go, oh, that's no good. Have you been experiencing a lack of energy? Or look, how long have you been experiencing, you know, this tiredness? And then she's going to respond. She's going to say something like, oh, it started about a month ago, I think, and I just haven't been quite on my game since then. And you go, oh, what happened a month ago? Was there anything that happened, you know? And she's going to say, yeah, well, I don't know. My husband lost his job and I wasn't sleeping well and I've started to worry. And you could go, yeah, right. Yeah. I remember when I went through a really stressful phase and I wasn't sleeping well. And I found that taking this supplement called Ningxia Red really helped me through that time. I've happened to have some in my handbag because I never leave home without it. Would you like to try some? So what I've done there is I've got to learn about Mary. I've got to learn that she's probably stressed. So, you know, we can help there, right? We've got oils. And I've also introduced her to one of the products. So in that situation, I've developed a natural conversation. From there, it could flow on and say, you know, I've got a specific strategy for sharing the Ningxia Red too. So, but from there, you could go on to say, look, you know, I'm also on top of the Ningxia Red, I'm also working with some essential oils, which may help you through this stressful time. Would you like to meet up in the next couple of days and you can try some, you know? So once again, I'm not saying, oh, I've got these oils, you should try them. I'm actually saying, hey, I'm working with these oils and I'm asking for permission. I call this concept consent marketing. This takes the stress off you in a really big way. You are asking questions. You are gauging their interest in what you say. This process has multi-purposes because once again, your time is precious. You don't want to be spending it on people who aren't interested. So take the time to gauge their interest. Don't be a little mini baby Mack truck or a little baby bulldozer and just tell them, here, this product's great, you should try it. Actually ask them first whether they want to try it. So that is the ask, listen, and then respond concept. Once again, this is not necessarily something that you're going to apply to your business. It's actually a great way to start living your life. Start getting to know people. People are interesting. Everyone's got a story. Okay, so that is one of my favorite processes of how to get people interested in using the product without being pushy, but being helpful. I could go through another example, but we're already halfway into this talk and I have actually got 4 pages of notes that I've written down. So let's say we're at...
Neena, yep. Before you go on, there's a question. Yep. May I ask you the question?
Sure.
From our audience. So Trish is asking about samples. So do you have a whole shop in your handbag or how does that work?
No, I actually have a beautiful little pouch. I could scatter off and get it and show it to you, but I found this beautiful little pouch at a market once, and it's got, what's it got in it? It's got Stress Away, Deep Relief, Lavender, Peppermint, Thieves, Pan Away, and Frankincense. And that's in my handbag along with a Ningxia red sachet. That's it. I've got the whole aroma kit complete and then probably another 50 oils on top of that. But that's what I leave home with. And I don't actually necessarily leave home with those oils to share them. I leave home, and purification. Don't leave home without purification. So that's what I leave home with, not necessarily because I'm going to share the oils with anyone, but because I want them for me. And I want the Ningxia red sachet for me because if I hit the wall and I've got a long drive or whatever, I want that hit of energy. Do I give them the bottle to take away and try or just sniff? That's a good question. It depends what the situation is. I don't have hard and fast rules. If there's a little bit left in the bottom of the bottle and they would like to try lavender to help, so that they have a really lovely night's sleep that night, I might just give them that to go home with and let them try it. Another beautiful thing that you can do is say, look, I've got this oil on me, it's nearly full, but how about I actually loan you my bottle? You can try the lavender tonight and see if it helps you. And can I come round tomorrow or the day after and see how you went? So can you see here how I'm introducing this concept of consent marketing again? I'm initiating a follow-up, but I'm not forcing it. I'm actually asking them if they're interested. If they say no, I go, oh, okay, that's okay, no worries. Or I could go, gee, that's a shame because these oils really are special. I could bring around a few more and we could have some fun playing with them, So it depends. You develop this knack of introducing the concept and extending an invitation over time. I used to go to bed at the end of the day and reflect on conversations I've had, and I would ask myself the question, what further invitation could I have extended to that person that would have resulted in them coming on board? So once again, or if it's, peppermint and lavender are great. If you're out and about and someone says, oh, I'm feeling a little bit wired, you offer lavender. If they're feeling like they need a pick-me-up, and you can ask them, you can go, oh, how are you going today? And they, oh, yeah, I'm feeling, like I need a pick-me-up. And you go, oh, I see. Yeah, I feel a bit like that sometimes too. When I'm like that, I carry around some essential oils that I find really helpful. I've got some in my handbag. Can I show you some? and they're going to either say yes or no. And the beauty of that is if they say no, conversation over, you can get on with your day and maybe find the next person who's interested. You haven't forced them into a situation where they might feel obligated towards you. And this is something that I've actually seen as well. People feel obligated because you've pushed them. And then what happens is they buy the product initially and they don't keep going. And that's actually disheartening for you. So let's look at the expo environment because time is slipping away. When you're at an expo, you've got a beautiful stall set up. I like to keep the stall simple. Choose maybe 2, at the most 3 concepts that you love about young living that you like to chat about and feel very comfortable with. For me, the 2 things that I love are Ningxia Red and essential oils. So I will, if I'm doing an expo, the stand will be set up to display either one of those 2 products. And I wait for people to show an interest in the stand. I don't pounce on them in the alleyway. And if I find they're looking at the stand, I observe what area they're actually looking at. And say, for example, they're looking at the essential oils. I walk up to them and I say, have you used essential oils before? So I'm inviting a conversation. They're either going to say yes or no. So just giving examples here that happen in real life. They might say yes. Often they do because they're drawn to those essential oils in the first place. And so they say yes. And so once again, you go, oh, yep, they're great, aren't they? What's an oil that you're familiar with and what do you use it for? And they'll say, a lot of the times people will say lavender. Lavender is a very popular oil. People know about it. And I say, oh, I use lavender for ... And I go, oh, it's great, isn't it? Are you aware of the company called Young Living? And they're either going to say yes or no. And if they say yes, they're going to know that Young Living produces the best essential oils on the planet. It's really amazing to me what a really incredible reputation Young Living has for quality. You can be proud of these oils and be proud of this company because we do have the best oils on the planet. And if they're familiar with Young Living, you're kind of home and hosed. A conversation is going to flow naturally from there. If they say no, you can say, well, would you like to smell Young Living's lavender oil? So what that does is it sets them up so that they've got a comparison with their oil at home, which is why you ask them what oil they use in the first place. I'm hoping that that makes sense. So you give them a smell of that oil and they are going to notice the difference, trust me. And once again, you've established a rapport with them. They're interested in the oil. They're delighted with it. And you follow up with a conversation from there. You've broken the ice. Another option that may be of interest to you now is the Savvy Minerals. You know, we've got the chemical-free makeup. We've got personal care products. So when you're sharing at an expo, don't go for all of them. Just select 2 that you like because people don't want to be overwhelmed. Tell your own personal story. Like my Ningxia Red story is, I've been using this product for 10 years. I'm like running, I'm bike riding, I enjoy excellent health, and I really attribute this to the long-term use of Ningxia Red. Good nutrition is the building block of your daily health regime. You know, so I love it. It's benefited me. So keep your story simple, but have a story about your favorite product. My dad used to say, facts tell, stories sell. People remember a story. Okay, so we've developed this rapport and we've been asking questions of the person in the expo. When I'm at an expo, I like to have slips of paper. I'm still a little bit I'm pretty tech savvy, but I like the slips of paper. You know, people are comfortable with slips of paper. If you want to do it on an iPad, great. But have slips of paper handy and be ready to take their details. Now, there's going to be two reasons why people are going to give you their details. And that's because A, you've given them a sample to try. So it could be that you've used deep relief on their shoulders, and you can actually say to them, you know, I'm really interested in whether this oil works for people, and if so, who it has the most impact on. Because be genuine about that. You want to learn. You do want to learn if these oils are working. Would it be okay with you if I rang you in the next couple of days to see how this deep relief has worked on your shoulders? Now, they are going to be interested, like as not, they're actually going to say, yeah, I actually don't mind if you contact me about that. So then you could say, okay, can I have your name and address? Or can I have your name? And what's the best way to contact you? Would you like a phone call, or would you like me to follow you up on Facebook? What works best for you? And they're going to tell you. Now, what this does is it actually helps you once again save your time. You're making things efficient because you don't have to guess what is going to be the best way that they want their follow-up, what's going to be the best way to contact them. And have those little options on your slip, Facebook, email, phone, you know, that they can tick the box. So be organised, have these little slips of paper. And then you can say, oh, great, that works really well. What's the best time to contact you? And just note it down. So in this conversation where you've talked about product, I'm just going to review and take a few steps back, because revision helps things sink in. We've established a rapport, we've given them a product experience, we've let them smell lavender, we've put deep relief on their shoulders, we've put stress away on their wrists. They're going to go round for the rest of the day at the expo, and they are going to either notice the difference or not. You want to know what their experience was. So ask them if you can get back to them about that, because you want to learn. And you can actually also say things like, with the deep relief, you can say, look, you're likely to feel a sensation in your muscles within the next 10 to 15 minutes. And then if you don't mind, can you notice what happens after that so that I can know? And then you've actually got them paying attention. We've got a lot going on for all of us these days. So by putting that suggestion there, you're actually making them aware, and they're asking them to pay attention, where otherwise they might just blow it off, walk away and forget about the whole thing. So you've got a concept starting to develop here. So that's one reason how or why you have an excuse to get their details and follow up. You want to know how they went with the product that you've actually shared with them. So that's really easy to set up. It flows very naturally once you get used to it. All right, so the other reason that you're going to have for following up with someone is because they've asked for more information. Now, this is really a cool thing that I'm going to share with you now that makes it so incredibly simple. People are going to maybe ask for extra information. If they don't, you could actually say, well, I have some more information on that. I haven't got it with me now, but I'd like to share that with you. Would you like that? And, you know, once again, you're being helpful, you're being friendly, you're being sincere. They're probably going to want the information that you've got to share. And you go, right, if you just put down your name here, how you'd like me to share that information, and I'll get that to you. And so what's really cool about that is make sure you don't know the answer, basically, because that gives you an excuse or a reason that's very valid to get their contact details, and then you can follow up with them once again. So don't know the answers. Make sure you don't, because then you've got a reason to give them more information once you leave their presence. I hope I'm making sense with that, but they are the two main reasons that I've used to get people's contact details easily and naturally and establish a way to follow up with them with their consent. I haven't been pushy, I've been helpful. All right. Let me look at my notes. How are we going here? Okay. 6 points of contact. When I started Young Living, mate, I knew nothing about network marketing. Trust me, I didn't even know anything about essential oils. I went on a major crash course and I was a real eager beaver for learning, and I learnt heaps. So I started listening to people who knew stuff about marketing. And one concept I found very valuable, and it has actually held a lot of weight, is that the nature of the human being is that very often we will need 6 points of contact before we make a decision about something. And I think it's a good idea to reflect on your own personal journey before you got into Young Living. How many times had you heard about the oils before you actually came on board? Because what happened for you is likely to happen for someone else. And it's kind of common knowledge in marketing circles that it's about 6 points of contact before you make a decision. So that's another reason to meet them. So you're meeting in the street, the meeting at the expo, that's your first point of contact. Giving them a sample, following up with them, giving them more information, that's going to be your second point of contact. And then maybe you can organise a follow-up meeting or something like that. Third point of contact, they may need to go home, talk to their husband, make sure you call them again. The reason I'm bringing this up, it's easy to think or fall into the idea and concept, which I know I did, is that, oh, after 1 or 2 times they haven't shown an interest, I'll give up. Now, there is a time when you give up, but it's usually when the person says no to your invitation. And like I said, if you can get good at extending that invitation, you can work towards those 6 points of contact. The reason I'm bringing that up is so that you don't get disheartened if people don't come on board immediately. It's the odd person that does. And when what I've actually noticed over the years, it's an interesting observation, is that when somebody comes on really easily and really quickly, I often see them get really interested in something else really quickly, and they're gone just as quick as they came. So it's actually the person who gives consideration to your invitations and thinks about it and comes on board in a well-informed manner, they're actually more likely to be the ones that are your lifetime users, which is another reason to stay the distance with them. Okay. Now, okay, so we've gone through the expo, we've got our slips of paper, we've found out what they like, and we've had experiences with a heap of different people. And we come home and we've got these slips of paper, or if you've used an iPad or whatever, and we've got these contact slips, and it's kind of like, now we're home. And it's kind of like, oh, I remember this feeling too when I did my first expo. I didn't write down anything on those slips, hey. So I'd made really good contact with people. I'd had some great conversations, and they'd walked, and I thought, oh, that person was amazing. I loved connecting with them. That was great. I'll look forward to, I'll be okay to follow those up. And I would get home and I'd have all these slips of paper because I've been talking to people non-stop, and it'd be like, oh my, who is that person? What did we talk about? So you need to get a little organised at the expo. I've already given you some tips. Have how they like to be contacted, what is a good time for them. But then what I've learned, it's a really good idea that when that person walks away from the stand, turn that slip over, give them a rating out of 5 stars as to their level of interest. This is really handy. So give them a rating, or you might want to just do, like I use stars, but I wrote down the number 1 to 5, 5 being really a good contact, genuinely interested, to 1 where, yeah, they were a little bit iffy. So write down the stars and then write down key pointers about that information. They had 2 children. 1 is a little bit challenged. I sent them, I had an experience where I gave them an experience of this oil, and I said I would send them this information. Make those notes on the back of the slip, because when you get home, you've got all these slips, those notes are going to be gold for you. On top of that, when you follow through with that person in the manner that they suggested, you can personalize that message. You can say, hi, it's Neena Love here. I met you at the expo on Saturday. It was great chatting about lavender. I'd like to know how you went after that and whether you ... And it might be had a better night's sleep. Whatever you were giving them or suggesting that oil to them for. Might be peppermint for the pickup, might be Ningxia red for the extra energy, might be stress away because they're off the wall. It might have been some joy on their heart. They might have had an uplifting experience. The main thing I find is, do give people an experience with these oils. Honestly, the oils will sell themselves. We don't need to sell these oils. Our role is to give people an experience of them. They will do the talking. They will do the talking for those that feel it. And for those that don't feel it, that's okay. Not everybody is ready for Young Living essential oils. One day they will be. That's my firm belief. So, yep. Fill out those slips of paper, put in as much detail, because when you get home, you will be really grateful for every note that you took. The other thing about that is you've actually said to that person, is it okay if I follow up with you and find out how you went? What that does is you've made a commitment, and they will be expecting that call from you. At that point, it's pretty easy to pick up the phone, send that message, send that text, because you've prearranged it. If you haven't done that, it's a lot harder. And when I did my first expo, I hadn't done any of that. I came home with these slips. I barely remembered any of it, and I actually just picked up the phone and started calling them without having any of the background that I've shared with you. That made it a lot more challenging. By preparing yourself at the expo in this way, it's going to make it so much easier. Yep, do that. So you've made that arrangement. They are now expecting that call from you, and it's fun that way. You've engaged with people naturally, and the follow-up is fun. It's not nerve-wracking. Okay, now, with people who want phone calls, this was a big thing that I did. I never left messages on a person's message bank. If I didn't get to speak to them in person, I would try later on in the day, or I would try the next day. And I would actually ring people at least 2 or 3 times without leaving a message. If I couldn't get them then I would leave a message, because then it would demonstrate that I've honoured my commitment in following through with them. If people contact you, get back to them the same way that they connected with you. If somebody emails you, email them back. If somebody sends you a text, text them back. If somebody calls you, call them back. Use the medium that they like. Another invitation that you can extend these days is, oh, I run a Facebook group. Would you like to become a member of it? That way you can learn more about oils. And here is a little bit of Facebook etiquette. And I think this is really important again. Once again, it works on the concept of consent. I don't think it's courteous just to add people to your group or anyone's group. It's way more friendly. It builds way more trust if you actually say to them, look, I run a Facebook group. Would you be interested in learning more? Because I'd love to add you. So often, you know, I have a Facebook group now, and so often I just know that people are adding people who aren't really that interested. So show some etiquette. Once again, I'm demonstrating this idea of consent marketing, asking a leading question and waiting to see if that person's genuinely interested. All right. When to stop with follow-up. Basically, there's going to be two answers to this, which seem quite contrary. Never stop your follow-up. But the disclaimer to that is whilst ever that person is interested. The follow-up doesn't stop once that person comes on board with you in Young Living. As a matter of fact, that's a whole nother level of follow-up. When you have a brand new member, how do you follow up with them? If there's enough interest, Brenda and I have had a preliminary discussion, and I'm open to doing another webinar with what I do once the person comes on board and how I generate excitement in them and get them so that they are willing to share their contacts with me. And that is key to making your business grow. So that could be another topic, because I have taken up the hour pretty much now. So that would be, I need to wrap up now. We've got 5 minutes to go. The other thing is when to stop. You stop when the horse is looking pretty tired. Now, this sounds funny. Don't beat a dead horse. Don't flog a dead horse. We all see it, but I see people flogging dead horses all the time. Don't do it, folks. It's just frustrating. You lose, what words, actions do you actually use to sign people up? That is a great question, Lee, and I'm going to answer it. This is probably going to be the last thing that I'm going to be able to say. Here it is. This is Neena's magic line. Some people have probably heard this before, but write this down. Would you like me to help you set up your own wholesale account with Young Living so you can get 24% off just like I do? Does anyone need me to repeat that?
Yeah, please say it again, Neena.
Okay, thanks, Brenda. Would you like me to help you set up your own wholesale account so you can get 24% off just like I do? Now, I don't want to sign up for anything personally, but hey, I want 24% off my product and I want my own account. So people say to me, I have trouble getting people to sign up. Well, of course you do. People don't want to sign up, but everybody wants their own wholesale account that they can get 24% off. Thanks, Alison, for telling people it works a treat, because I'm pretty sure I would have shared that line with the lovely Alison from South Australia. Okay, so that's a little bit about how to set up your follow-up. And now that how you can ring them, and you'll be all good to go. I hope that's helped. With the essential rewards, I might hold that question for the next webinar. There seemed like there was enough interest into what to do during the sign-up process and absolutely afterwards. All right, Brenda's back on board. How was that, Brenda?
Sensational, of course. And I'd just like to wrap up with what I got out of tonight, and by way of summarising as well. And if you have any final comments, Neena. But I just loved the opportunity for us to give great service. And this is the context for what you do with follow-up. It's about being of service, customer service, great service. And I think that's so much what we're about. And also what even the oils help us to become. So I'm sure there's an oil that can help us be of more service to people as well. I loved consent marketing. Fantastic concept of asking for permission. That was brilliant. I loved even your idea of slips of paper and putting notes on the back. You could even have that in your handbag at any time, because we're always running into people on the bus, in the supermarket, and then you promise you'll do something for them and then forget, or take a business card or whatever. I think having those slips of paper and the samples in your handbag is a great idea. And then lastly, I think, well, two more things. Not to know the answers is great. I mean, that puts that excuse of not knowing enough to bed straight away, doesn't it? And then the last one I wanted to, I thought was fabulous, was going to bed liking yourself. So you've done your best for people. You've offered the best service. You've followed up. You've created a friend, and then you go to bed, I think you said, liking yourself?
Well, yeah, you go to bed happy. And what I want to say about this is your lifestyle is not different from your business. The two merge into one. And this is what has given me so much joy in my young living journey. My business was an extension of how I conducted myself. It wasn't my business. It was an extension of me because of how I lived. The two were never separate. And that's just, I don't know, I can't begin to express how confident, it's just a great way to be. Just do the right thing by people. And I know that that's the ethos that Gary set this company up. That's how Gary was. And don't think it won't make you successful, because Young Living is testimony to the fact at what is it, $1.5 billion per annum in sales now. It's because Gary set an ethos of caring. I set an ethos of caring. I was surprised to get to platinum. I was really surprised.
Well, on that note, we'll leave it there for tonight, and there's definitely going to be part 2. So watch out for that, everyone.